You are my friend. You are special. You are my friend. You're special to me. You are the only one like you. Like you, my friend. I like you.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to read about Jane again, Jane Goodall. And this is chapter 6, Fame. Before I read about it, I want to read a little chapter on Hugo, the photographer. Hugo van Leeuwenhoek was born in Indonesia on April 10th, 1937. His family were Dutch aristocrats. Hugo was a baron. Like Jane, Hugo was fascinated by the animal world from the time he was a child. He too wanted to live among wild creatures. In order to learn about them, Jane took notes on everything she saw, but Hugo, however, recorded everything through photographs. In 1959, he traveled to Kenya to work for a Dutch film company. By 1962, he was covering Eastern Africa for the National Geographic Society. The Society's magazine sent him to Gombe. He was to photograph the group of chimps that Jane Goodall was studying. Hugo stayed in on Tanzania, continuing his life's work. Besides chimpanzees, he became interested in other creatures of the area, jackals, hyenas, and leopards. He won many prizes, including 8 Emmys for television shows. Hugo van Leeuwenhoek lived in Africa for more than 40 years. 30 of them he spent living in a tent. He died in 2002 and was buried in Tanzania, the land he loved so much. So now we're on chapter 6 about Hugo being the photographer with Jane. Right away, Jane and Hugo van Leeuwenhoek became close friends. They had very different personalities. Hugo was a stiffer, more formal person than Jane was. However, they worked very well alongside each other. They were a team. Each night they talked excitedly about what they had seen the chimps doing. In time, Hugo and Jane fell in love, and in London, on March 28, 1964, they were married. On top of the wedding cake was a little clay model of David Greybeard. On the walls hung pictures of David and Goliath, Flo and her daughter Fifi, and many of Jane and Hugo's other chimp friends. The National Geographic Society provided more money for Jane's work. Over time, the camp grew. Many young graduate students went to join Jane at Gombe. In 1965, buildings were erected, then covered with grass to blend in with the forest. More and more information was gathered about the chimp community. For instance, before Gombe, scientists had thought that a chimpanzee group was made up of one male and lots of females. That's not so. A group is made up of many males and females. There were around 50 in the group that Jane knew. The group lives within a home range. An adult male is always the leader and may stay in charge for as long as 10 years. When the leader becomes too old and weak, most often younger males will fight one another to be the next leader. Well, this is Jane and Hugo's wedding cake. Can you see David Greybeard right there on top of the cake? Goliath was the leader, or alpha male, when Jane first went to Gombe. Later, a chimp named Mike replaced Goliath. Mike was not a big, strong chimp, but he was clever. He acted big and strong, which made the other males fear and respect him. And here are the males fighting to be the leader of the group. Among the females, Flo was the most respected. In 1964, she had another baby. Jane and Hugo called him Flint. They did not know who Flint's father was. Male and female chimps do not pair off and live together, nor does a male chimp take part in raising his young. The mother chimp cares for the young by herself. Flo often came into the camp with her new baby, so Jane saw close up how an infant chimp develops. Like a newborn human baby, a newborn chimp is helpless. Flint depended on Flo for milk, to keep him safe, and to carry him around. For the first 5 or 6 months, Flint clung to the fur on his mother's belly. Afterward, Flo made him ride on her back. By the time most chimps are a year old, they can walk steadily, but chimps will ride on their mothers until they are about 2 years old. After that, they travel on their own, still staying close to their mothers. This is a picture of Flint and his mother. See how he's riding on her back? Flint had 2 older brothers, Fegan and Fabian. His sister Fifi was 4 when he was born. Fifi was fascinated with little Flint. She wanted to be around him all the time. When he was older, Fifi would hold him and take him for rides on her back. She was learning to be a mother. Flo was an excellent mother. In fact, most of the female chimps at Gombe were good mothers. They kept their babies very close to them. The chimp mothers gave their babies lots of love and attention. They cuddled them. They protected them. They did not punish their babies for misbehaving. Instead, a chimp mother would distract a baby to stop naughty behavior. They let their babies have lots of playtime. The little chimps chased and tickled one another and played games like tug of war. And there's another picture. Oh, so sweet. Jane believed that watching the chimps taught her a lot about good mothering. And in 1967, she and Hugo had a son. His first name was also Hugo, but everyone called him Grub. There was an important question of safety now that Jane had a child. A baby would not know how to be careful around chimps, and chimps had been known to attack human infants. So Jane and Hugo moved to a house by the lake to keep Grub safe. Jane spent most of her time caring for him while students went into the forest to observe the chimps. Little Grub loved to swim in the lake and go fishing. And there's Hugo and Jane with their little son that they called Grub. Did he come to love the chimps as much as his parents did? Nope. When Grub was quite young, a chimp bit his finger. Grub had been trying to give it some food. After that, Grub kept his distance from the animals. Meanwhile, Jane and Hugo continued working as partners. They wrote books together and made films. Jane wrote many books by herself that became very popular. One book, In the Shadow of Man, first came out in 1971. It became a bestseller and has been translated into 50 languages. In December 1965, an hour-long program appeared on national TV in the United States. It was called Miss Goodall and the Wild Chimpanzees. Viewers were fascinated by the chimps. They were equally fascinated by the pretty young Jane Goodall. Jane became famous, and over the years, Jane became world famous. Perhaps it was difficult for Hugo to be married to a superstar, though they remained friends. After 10 years of marriage, Hugo and Jane got divorced. There's some of the shows with Jane on TV. Jane remarried in 1975. Her second husband was Derek Bryson. He worked in the government of Tanzania and lived in the city of Dar es Salaam much of the time. Although the couple was often apart, many of Jane's friends considered Derek the love of her life. He died in 1980 of cancer. And that was Jane's second husband, Derek. So we're going to stop there. And then next time we'll read the next chapter. This is one of my favorite books. Mr. Rogers tells the story, Time to Be Friends. Friends are people who care about each other. They're people who like to be with each other. Did you ever wish you could be with somebody, but that person was just too busy to be with you? How did you feel? Let's pretend that someone in the neighborhood of make-believe is feeling that way right now. We can make use of the trolley to start our make-believe. And right here, do you see the trolley? They're going to travel to the land of make-believe. How special is that? Oh, what a rotten day, grumbled Lady Elaine Fairchild. Everybody's too busy for me. King Friday is doing his kingly business, and Queen Sarah is busy taking care of Prince Tuesday. Everybody's doing something. Everybody but me. And there she is, right there. Just then the trolley appeared, and Lady Elaine called, Yoo-hoo! Trolley! Could you stick around? But the trolley dinged a ding that meant it had to rush away to keep on schedule. Rat, said Lady Elaine, as she stomped back home to the museum go-round. Oh, look at everybody's too busy for her today. Have you ever had a day like that? Soon Mr. McFeely rode up. You're just in time, said Lady Elaine. Come see my new museum display about deliveries. Worldwide, super, extraordinary deliveries. Sorry, Lady Elaine, but I have a speedy delivery for Daniel Striped Tiger. I'll leave my bike here while I go if that's all right with you. Lady Elaine began to feel angrier and angrier. Sure, leave your bike. It's better than nothing. Mr. McFeely went off to Daniel's clock. What good are friends if they have no time to be friendly? Lady Elaine wondered. I'll find a trick to make someone stay. And let's see, there she is, moving and talking to Mr. McFeely, but he had a delivery. Just then, Handyman Negri walked by. Lady Elaine tried to get him to stay too, but he told her that he had to make some repairs at the tree house. Suddenly, Lady Elaine thought of a plan. Could you give me some chains so I can fix Mr. McNeely's bicycle? Lady Elaine asked Handyman Negri. Well, sure, Handy Lady. I didn't know it needed fixing, said Handyman Negri. He gave her the chain and hurried off. He didn't know that Lady Elaine meant to fix Mr. McFeely's bicycle so it couldn't be moved. Meanwhile, Mr. McFeely brought the package to Daniel, who quickly opened it. Just the truck I ordered, he said. Thanks, Mr. McFeely. I'm going to play with it right away. Daniel went behind his clock to play trucks. And I'm going to pull this over here and see what happens on this. There's Mr. McFeely. There's Handyman Negri talking to Lady Elaine and getting her a chain. And there's Mr. McFeely delivering the truck to Daniel Striped Tiger. Oh. When Mr. McFeely returned to the museum go-round and tried to ride his bicycle, it wouldn't move. Angrily, he snapped, I'm very busy today, Lady Elaine. Please unchain my bicycle. As Mr. McFeely was riding past the treehouse, he told how Lady Elaine had chained his bike. Handyman Negri thought a moment. Maybe I know what's wrong, he said. As soon as I get done here, I'm going to see Lady Elaine. Let's see what opens on this page. Oh, there's the bird in there. Do you see it? As he neared the museum go-round, Handyman Negri heard a voice say, Halt! He saw Lady Elaine pointing her boomerang at him. You are under a magic spell. By the magic powers of my boomerang, toomerang, soomerang, I'm going to keep you here. Handyman Negri chuckled. Maybe you won't need those magic powers. Oh, yes, I will, she cried. The way people keep rushing away from here. First, I'll put up a wall like this. And suddenly a wall of blocks appeared around Handyman Negri. Let's see if this does it. That's amazing, he said, truly impressed. But you don't think it will keep me here, do you? Of course it will. Won't it? Not if I go like this, said Handyman Negri, and he walked through the wall. Lady Elaine wasn't going to give up. Let's see what you do with my boomerang, toomerang, soomerang, double whammy. A thick cloud surrounded him. Handyman Negri said that wouldn't keep him there either. He took a deep breath, and he blew the cloud away. Oh, rats, Lady Elaine cried. Nothing will make you stay. Your tricks won't, but something else will, Handyman Negri explained. And that is my wanting to stay, and also my having time to stay. He looked at his watch. I'm all finished with work for an hour, and I'd like to spend that hour just with you. Oh, that was so nice of Handyman. You mean just you and me together for a whole hour? Asked Lady Elaine. That's right, said Handyman Negri. Just because I want to, and just because you want me to. Not because of tricks, but just because of you. Oh, what a great friend. Lady Elaine smiled a smile that was even wider than her boomerang, toomerang, soomerang. Of course, Lady Elaine is a make-believe person who does make-believe things. But you know, sometimes even real people try to use tricks to make their friends stay a little longer. That's funny though, isn't it? Since real people are people who care about each other, people who like to be with each other, it seems to me that real friends don't need tricks. They just need time. What do you think? That's a good thought, Mr. Rogers. Yes, people just need time for each other and to understand that sometimes we don't have the time, but when we do, we'll have a great time together. So I'm going to say good night, kids, and I love you, and good night.
Amen.